Much to my dismay, I found it. The dumbest, most inarticulate, most idiotic, most pointless article I have ever stumbled across. And I think any YouTuber has. Problem is, it's such a niche and it's on such a small website that no one cares about it anymore, that I think it's completely gone under the radar. So let me enlighten you guys to the most important revelation. Chikorita is a female LGBT icon, and anybody who refuses to play her in Legend ZA is a transphobe, misogynist, and sexist, and homophobe. And oh my god, I'm not kidding you. This is an actual article I found over at the Mary Sue, one of the worst websites known to mankind. The dredges of degeneracy hide out over there. The kind of moronicism that is actively contagious is contained to that website. It's worse than Kotaku, it's worse than The Gamer, and this website will give you the big gay. Thankfully, Pokemon has done a pretty good job of avoiding the culture war, as they're a Japanese company. They occasionally do say or do stupid things that seem a little too close to towing the line, like recently hiring in some DEI coordinators, but that's only in the American branch, who don't really have too much control over the product narrative of the company. All they really do, as far as I'm aware, is mostly translate cards to American English and localize them for the nation. But before we go any further, like, subscribe, and let's get into this. As I said, coming from the Mary Sue, what do you mean, who's picking Chikorita? The Pokemon fandom sexism is showing, and I'm still picking my girl in Legend ZA, written by Olivia Roll. Now, I'm not shocked whatsoever that this went under the radar, but to be clear, this article is 12 days old as of time of recording, so I think it's high time it gets some coverage, because, oh my god, this is the definition of brainworms. This is giving me cancer. Now, in light of Pokemon Day 2025, which is a pretty good display, Legend ZA looks promising, albeit the characters look kind of bad. I was thrilled to see Chikorita revealed as one of the returning starters in Pokemon Legends ZA, and then I remembered, people hate Chikorita, like to the point of crashing out on the internet. One user on TikTok asked, literally, who's picking Chikorita? Olivia, darling, people don't like Chikorita because she's bad. It's a bad Pokemon. I mean, it's okay, It came from one of the weaker generations as far as starters go. But Chikorita's just kind of bland. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy a good Chikorita. Chikorita's a fine Pokemon. I think I would have chosen Chikorita if I played the generations that Chikorita was in. But I'm not particularly fond of Chikorita. Cyndaquil definitely dominates that generation. And more importantly, people are allowed to have whatever opinion they want to have on what Pokemon they want to play. Cry about it? And here we see Olivia crashing out over other people crashing out, sharing some videos that she doesn't like. What the fuck is that? Whatever. Anyway, originally from the Johto region, the grass-type starter Chikorita is back for the release of Legend ZA. It's joined by fellow Johto partner, the water-type Totodile, and the Unova region's fire starter Tepig. I'm sorry, but the obvious choice is clear. You're picking Tepig. I love Tepig. I want to hug that thing so badly. And also, why did they put two members of Johto? That's the real reason people have an issue with Chikorita, is it's two Johto starters. They really should have chosen a different grass-type starter for this game. But Olivia continues her own crash out. Not even the possibility of Mega Evolution or new regional evolution is enough to stop the Chikorita hate. Since it was introduced back in Gen 2, titles Gold and Silver, and became a member of Ash's team in the anime, Chikorita and her iconic leaf ponytail have been the subject of criticism and bad faith debates, held to the same double standards as the girls and LGBTQIA+ fans who stuck by her side all these years. Olivia, honey, are you okay? Do you have something to work through? What does Chikorita have to do with anything LGBTQIA+? Also, you're missing a few letters there if you're going to be really accurate. But to be clear, us homosexuals, we don't give a damn about Chikorita. There's only really one Pokemon that's associated by the LGBTQIWZW2WX, I don't know. The Alphabet Mafia really only cares about Sylveon because Pokemon made Sylveon the colors of the trans flag, but it was before the trans flag was popular, so it's not Pokemon's fault. It's the trans people's fault for having a bad flag. But Olivia continues on this bizarre drug-fueled rampage. Surprise, surprise, people still hate Chikorita in 2025. If it's not a complaint about Chikorita's girly or lackluster appearance, it's about her average stats and poor performance in her native region. Why do you keep calling Chikorita she? Chikorita, let me double check because I could be wrong. Alright, it makes zero sense for you to be calling Chikorita a she, because Chikorita has an 87.5 to 12.5 male to female ratio. The odds of you having a female Chikorita are slim pickings. So you might wanna stop misgendering Chikorita, you filthy bigot. But Olivia continues on to say that Meganium is comparable, for those unaware, Meganium is the final evolution of Chikorita, comparable to fan favorites like Kalos fossil Pokemon Auroras, and just about as useful as Charizard if we're strictly talking about home games. Yes, Charmander is trash when it comes to the original games, but counterpoint, Charizard's a fucking dragon. He looks cool. Meganium is a plant thing. Don't worry, I like Meganium, the plant dinosaur thing, but it's not a fucking Charizard. Now, she goes on to complain that Aurora's stats are just as good as Meganium's, and Aurora is a fan favorite. Well, Aurora isn't all that a particularly common Pokemon from what I've seen, and even then, I think it's really only common in Smogum tournaments and a few other small tournament settings, compared to Meganium, who's rarely used, complaining about the stats. Now, in Pokemon, they have stats, and the total stat number is generally used to assess quality. Meganium's stats are 525, and Aurora's stats are 521, so on the surface, it looks like Meganium's the better Pokemon. Well, not quite. You see, Aurora has a significantly higher HP pool, but a lower defense pool, whereas Meganium has significantly lower HP, but slightly more defense and slightly more special defense, meaning that Aurora is a significantly more targeted and specialized Pokemon, whereas Meganium is relatively small and unfocused, making her relatively less useful. And then on top of that, while Meganium is slightly faster, meaning Meganium can do her moves faster than Aurora could, it's completely countered by the fact that Aurora has a special attack of 99 compared to Meganium's special attack of 83. And whilst Meganium has a higher base attack, there are very few base attack grass-type moves, making that higher stat completely pointless. It's also worth mentioning that Meganium's character special ability is completely overshadowed by Auroras's, because Meganium's is Overgrow, which increases the power of grass-type moves by 50%, 1.5, when the ability bearer's HP falls below a third, and that's okay, but it's not great. It's the default on every starter, and it's not a particularly good ability, because most of the time when you're playing competitive Pokemon, if your Pokemon falls below a third HP, your Pokemon's already dead. Okay, compare that to Auroras, whose special ability is going to be Refrigerate. Refrigerate causes all normal type attacking moves used by the Pokemon to become Ice type and increase in power by 20%. It also makes Ice type Pokemon gain stab or same type attack bonus from those moves, which increases the effectiveness of 80%. So this is an ability that's going to turn things like Hyper Beam and several other normal type moves, which have a lot of dominating impact on the game, into significantly stronger moves. A lot of normal type moves are really good already, and by turning them into Ice type moves, you've made Auroras a lot stronger. Now, I know that sounds like a completely pointless rant about Pokemon, and it's not just because I love Pokemon. The reason behind it is because Olivia is saying that those are pointless complaints, that those are completely factitious, completely irrelevant arguments against why someone would have an issue with Meganium. She's basically saying that people who use the stat argument are lying as a way to justify their misogyny, and when in reality, Meganium is in fact a significantly worse Pokemon than most other choices. And then this is where it gets really tis of me. While design and stat preferences are subjective, I just went through. Those stats are not subjective. There is nothing subjective about that. Meganium is a significantly inferior Pokemon to the ones you mentioned earlier. And while designs are truly subjective, so what? You can't change someone's opinion on the design of a Pokemon. But she continues, what's especially silly about furthering this narrative is that the thinly veiled misogyny that's always surrounded the Chikorita line likely won't hold very much weight soon. With the next Legends title in the works, we can safely assume we'll see each returning starter receive a new form, whether a regional final evolution form or mega evolution. Either way, stat boosts and design touch-ups are all but guaranteed, answering big complaints. Okay, but Mega Evolutions are limited things, and the stat boost they get from an alternate evolution will not be nearly significant enough to matter because they want to keep it from getting too power crept. But in the meantime, singling out Chikorita and bashing its stats feels needlessly hateful. And honestly, pretty sexist and homophobic. Of fucking course it does. It's so sexist and homophobic to point out that a Pokemon has subpar statistics. And there it is. This is the real argument. She's literally making a DEI argument for Pokemon. I'm not even kidding. She's saying you can't have your meritocracy because meritocracy is inherently sexist and homophobic. I'm going insane. To those asking who's planning on picking Chikorita, I am, and I'm tired of debating one of my favorite starters' viability. Girl, you don't even know what a starter is. You don't know what you're arguing about. You know nothing about what you're talking about. Now get out of here, you fucking grifting female. Go back to the kitchen. Though it may seem like a bunch of random guys came out of the woodwork to tell everyone how disappointed they are that Chikorita is back, or maybe it's a bunch of Pokemon fans who are disappointed that Chikorita is back, because that slot, only 3 Pokemon are starters and only 1 grass type is the starter. We could have had so many better options. That's the reason behind the complaining. There are just as many fans eager to choose the grass partner for another adventure. And that's fine. Maybe it's not much, but I've seen Tumblr polls showing Chikorita. Of course you saw it on Tumblr, you goddamn Tumblrite bitch. And then of course she shares some TikToks that are all about people being happy that Chikorita's back, as that's going to give her argument and credence. And then she finishes, if you're a Chikorita, Bayleaf, and Meganium fan, knowing the line could be getting a makeover soon is more than a little nerve-wracking. We all want to see her at her best. Once again, predominantly male, stop misgendering Chikorita. After all, with the first look trailer released on Pokemon Day 2025, someone pointed out that Chikorita will now have access to the Fairy-type move Disarming Voice, and in Legends ZA, implying she might gain a dual grass and Fairy typing with a potential new form. Please don't make her a Fairy. Fairies are so dumb in Pokemon, they ruined the game. It's honestly insane to see that we still got these insane grifters coming out here and be like, my favorite Pokemon is being hated on, and the only reason it could be because of misogyny and sexism and whatnot, because I'm a woman and I like it, so if you hate what I like, then you must hate me too. It has nothing to do with that. And you know what? Even if people have an issue with Meganium and Chikorita and whatnot, because of their feminine appearance, that's still valid. Guess what? Pokemon is a predominantly male game. It is designed for men mostly, and even if not directly, men are still the predominant people who play the games. And people are allowed to prefer what they want to prefer. If somebody wants only anthropomorphic Pokemon, while they might be a furry, there's nothing wrong with that preference. If you only want evolutions, I'm not going to come out here and say that you hate cats because you only have canid type Pokemon. If somebody only chooses water types, I'm not going to say that I have an issue with them being racist because they don't have any dark types on their team. It's such a stupid and brain dead argument that it's honestly insane that we're getting this so many years after 2016 when this stuff was actually in vogue. Either way, I adore these idiots, and I hope they continue making articles like this because crashing out on camera is definitely the funnest thing to do with them. Laughing at these morons until they get their shit together and clean up their act and start putting out actual articles will be hysterical, and I cannot wait for the day that Mary Sue goes out of business, even though it will hurt my content farm. But that's a price I'm willing to take. Let me know what you guys think about this, and I will see you guys on the next one.